to Table Talk. We are here with the first week of Advent, and here's my friend Janita. And Janita, this is, we've talked about this. This is I'm gonna get this wrong, the Central Pennsylvania Hunting Day, second annual Janita Does Table Talk Monday.
Yes, it's a tradition I didn't know existed.
Yes, and so Janita did Table Talk on this very day last year, and so this is the second annual version of this, which is exciting.
Where I'm from, we don't have this Monday off,
No,
so it's quite a gift. I love South Central Pennsylvania
Yes.
for many reasons, and one of them is Hunting Monday.
Hunting Monday, and Bambi too. Bambi doesn't like.
I don't think Baby likes Hunting Monday.
But anyway, if you are of the hunting sort, good luck. If you don't eat meat, that's your choice too. So anyway, so we're here at Table Talk. We started this Advent series called Regifted, which is fun, and I want to encourage you too. We have this Advent bingo thing, this bingo challenge, and we'll post that on social media again too. But we encourage you to do it and to basically regift. And it's less things of like actual buying presents for people, and more things like, hey, leave a good review for something, it's a store that you bought something from, or pay a compliment to a manager, or hold the door open for someone.
I like the one let someone go in front of you in line.
Yeah.
Like intentionally let them go in front like that.
Right, yeah, just some little things like that throughout the Advent season. So just want to encourage you to be a part of that, because the whole Regifted series is really paying forward all that we've received from God. Because at Christmas, and just in the anticipation of Christmas coming through Advent, we're celebrating the coming of Christ once and again, and what a gift that is to us. But how it's not just for us by ourselves. So, but anyway, so we started out with the series with looking at the story of Zechariah, Elizabeth, this idea of hope, and how hope is a hard thing. But yet we're called to hold on to it even when there's not a lot that you would say is in its favor. And I think when it comes to the Christian life, those of us that are following Jesus, like we're all going to cross a time or times that we too will be in the place of Zechariah or Elizabeth, that to choose, to say, hey, do I give up on this? Does it make sense? Nothing's happening. I'm not feeling blessed. I'm not feeling it, whatever it is. Or do I continue to hope anyway? So if you're just curious, your thoughts, Danita.
Yeah, I really, I loved hearing the story of Zechariah and Elizabeth again in the context of hope. And then I loved how you went back and told just reminded us of the whole journey of the Jewish people, and how their whole entire story is all of hope. All the Old Testament is a story of hope. Right. And how long, thousands of years of hope. And in the midst of when, they were captured and all of these terrible things were happening to the people, God was still working behind. He was still doing things that people couldn't see. And that's always the comfort to me with hope, is that even when I don't feel it, even when I don't see it, even when it's really hard to have it, God's always working behind the scenes, and I just have to believe it in faith. And then but sometimes hope's really hard.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes,
even Zechariah questioned the angel, right?
Right. Like, yes, I get it. They were so faithful, and yet there's still a point where you can be like, enough's enough, God. Like, you feel that, like, enough's enough. Like, make it happen already, or don't, or tell me, or whatever. But the fact that they were still faithful, but still doubted and still had a hard time with it.
Human.
It's very real. Yeah, their story is very, very real.
Very, very human.
But and you said something about the silence. That there's hope in the silence.
There's a gift.
There's a gift in the silence, right? And trying to find that gift, like the gift in the silence, and then. Sometimes I think on the times when hope is easier for you, then you look at the people around you who don't have the hope. And that's where the gifting comes in. And saying, hey, like, I know God's silent for you right now. Like, how can I, how can I help you with your hope? How can can I make you more hopeful? Or just praying and being there for someone, or doing those things to make them remember their hope.
Right, because silence doesn't mean a lack of presence.
Right.
And I think that's where like we wrestle with that. I know I wrestle with that, is that sometimes we think that just because God is silent that he's not present or not listening or not hearing. But then you think of, like maybe that person in your life that is going through a time of doubt, of hopelessness, whether it's through circumstance, whatever it is. Saying anything to them often is worthless, but your presence is what counts, even in the silence. So I try to think of it that way, is that it's almost like God is that friend sitting with you, just present, not saying anything, maybe not trying to make things better or fix it or make things right, and that's such a powerful thing. And what a gift that is too. And I just think too, just about how loud our lives are, and how I think that often does us a disservice too. Does me a disservice. I know when I'm like so busy, I'm going from one thing to the next, and I'm distracted. I'm listening to things. I'm trying to cram stuff in. Like my hope often correlates with my busyness and the loudness in life too. Because then I find myself, I'm getting angry more. I'm wondering, why isn't this working the way I want it to work? But taking that pause, taking myself out of that loudness, that sound, like that just helps, that kind of dwelling in that silence, helps me put things in perspective, helps me see God, where is God working behind the scenes?
And that's really hard to do this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Just to pull back. I mean, before I came here, I have a whole list. I'm stopping here, and then I'm going to this, I'm going to this, and this. I'm, checking off my list. Oh yeah, and it's loud. Like, you're right. It's a loud time of year. And to push through, to wade through. Okay, what's really important right now? Because there are people who are really, really hurting and sad, and isn't that what we're supposed to, as Christ followers, we're supposed to, during this time of year, really be like a symbol of what Jesus was, right? We're supposed to be that light and that hope and that love and that joy and that peace for people. And when we're only hearing the noise and the loud and checking off our to-do list, I'm talking to myself, by the way. Clearly this was a sermon that I needed to hear for myself today. We really do. And you can't help people when everything is so noisy, because you can't see.
No.
You can't see
and you can't listen.
needs. No.
You can't listen to them. And what are they really saying? What's my friend really going through? What does she really need? What does he really need? And I think our world and our culture, like in the kind of commercialization of Christmas, I think that's, I'm not against that. Like we decorate, we buy presents, all that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes when that clouds out those needs of those times of service and being present and really getting a glimpse of God's hand moving, and what that redemption looks like in my present. Like when that's stolen from me, or when I'm allowing that to be taken because I have the things I gotta do. I think that's where I know I just need to pause. I would love for a non-scary angel. I don't know, the dialed down to like a 1, a little angel, not like a big scary angel to surprise me, but to just come and I think just like Zechariah, just be like, hey, pause, hey, stop, hey, he hears you, he's with you. I think Zechariah needed that pause too. Because he was in the busyness, and what a great moment that he had, what an honor it was to have the incense, the Holy of Holies. He was chosen for this. He was so focused on that work and that job that he could have missed God right in front of him. And I'm like, hey, wow, even in my holy work, even our ministry, right? You're doing ministry. You're an active member here at Table Life, and your ministry at school as a teacher. How often are we doing holy work, but then I miss God right in front of me? because I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to this next meeting, I gotta take care of this, and then if I would have just taken that pause, that silence, yeah, what hope could have really stirred up in the midst of that moment? So it's a pretty big deal.
Just giving me a lot to think about.
I know.
I'm thinking in the silence.
So have you ever been, felt similar to Zechariah and Elizabeth? Been in a place you've been waiting?
Yeah, there's a couple big things in my life. I feel like I'm even now, like just hoping and, just kind of long-term things that this time of year of Advent, I always, that longing and that waiting and that hoping it's always with me. And it's a really good time for me to think about it. And sometimes my hope is really strong. And then sometimes I just think, it's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
And so I just.
But what's been helpful for you to hold on to hope?
Yeah.
What's been helpful in those times?
And there's moments of pause, or there's Advent itself, the season itself is all about that waiting, and that being joyful and peaceful and in that waiting. I think that God never does things when we think he should. I mean, it's kind of, and so I guess there's just moments of remembrance. God, maybe that's what God does for me as I'm waiting, is that he gives me these moments of, whether it's something that's said on Sunday morning, or a friend says something, or the young adult group, or someone will say, hey, I just want to let you know I've been praying for you, or something. Like, there's those moments where I go, oh yeah, God, you're still there, you're working, you're doing something, even though I don't see it. Being connected, being connected to this church, being connected to people who can encourage you in what you believe.
Because that's why it's regifting, right?
Right.
Like, we pass it on to one another.
Right.
It's not just it's parents to children, but it's even more than that. It's being surrounded and being connected to people that, when you don't have hope, they can give theirs.
Right.
They can hold that for you.
Yeah, that's what works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's not an easy answer to hold on to the hope. And I think it's why God wanted us to be in community with each other. He never intended us to be alone doing this thing, right?
Yeah.
It's always been about being together with people, because this life can get hard and frustrating, and we have to be together.
Yeah, and I think when you are by yourself, I think it magnifies all that is wrong. And all that isn't going to plan, or you look at the world and you see these atrocities happening, and you look at people being, shot and killed in mass, like the last, couple of weeks of shootings, and it can be overwhelming, I think. But and I think that can rob you of that hope, or make it feel hopeless. Really. But I think that's where it is understanding, and that taking that time and that pause, but not as much as you want to withdraw, to be connected, to make that effort, because that's where we hold on to hope for one another.
Right.
And also we're just reminded that this is not the end, and that this is not the story is not over, and that God's promises happen just for Zechariah and Elizabeth were fulfilled in their lifetime. Maybe ours, maybe not, but his promises are still active and true. Sometimes that's all you have to cling to. Well, thank you, Dana. Thanks for chatting today. And just a lot to chew on, a lot to think about, and I hope that you'll be able to take some pause during this Advent season. Maybe whittle down your to-do list a little bit. Figure out what's important now, what can wait, but also not to lose sight of what God might be doing right in front of you, and what hope that maybe somebody needs just from you, from your life, from being with, as we celebrate Emmanuel, God with us.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks,
guys. Join us on Sunday, second week of Advent. We're going to be talking about peace, regifting peace, because that's something we all are looking for in our lives. I know I am. Just peace, right? So we hope you guys have a great week, and remember, Advent Bingo, do it, have fun with it, and we'll see you then. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.